Okay, I can't lie to you, this one hurts a little bit. Just a little, but it hurts. And Spurs are having a pretty decent transfer window so far. Big Ange is creating a pretty decent squad. Obviously, they've already brought in the likes of Archie Gray, who has done a pretty good job in pre-season so far and looks like he can cover a few positions. But I think we all know there was one glaring hole in this Spurs squad. And if you can't guess what it is, it's that massive gap left when Harry Kane went to Bayern Munich. They have lacked an out-and-out striker. And it does seem to have cost them a little bit in certain moments over the last season, but I think they might have fixed that problem very well as well. And I don't like talking about it, but I think Spurs have done a great job here. And I think it could also unleash Son again. I think we could see the best Son back in his fine form. But before we get into the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 1K before the end of the year. Hopefully we can get there. Click that like button as well. But anyway, let's take a look at last season's lineup. So this is the lineup that Big Ange typically went with most last season, or this kind of style. And we did see Richarlison come in a few times. We also did see Brennan Johnson come in instead of Kulusevski. So there are different options that they had. But the one main thing that we always saw was even when Richarlison did play, he often played off the left, and Son was the player playing up top. It was a good solution, but he's not that out and out striker that I think they really needed. Spurs ranked 4th in the season last year for shots per 90, but they only ranked 7th for goals per 90, which clearly shows they didn't convert as much of their chances compared to a few other teams. They were generating a lot of high volume, high quality attacks, but actually finishing them attacks off is where they struggled. Now, interestingly, Son's stats last year were actually similar to the season before. Granted that he's in a different position, but the issue was that with Harry Kane, he was a creator for Harry Kane and Harry Kane created for him. Last season, whilst he still put up the same numbers, he couldn't create and finish at the same time. He didn't have an obvious partnership with someone else. And we've seen when he does get a good partnership with his striker, they both get going. I mean, Harry Kane and Son have combined, I think it might be they've combined the most to create the most goals in the Premier League history. They are sensational. Well, they were sensational. Then Harry Kane buggered off to Germany and somehow still didn't win a league. You cannot take the Spurs out of Harry Kane. But I do think Son is struggling a little bit. Not necessarily saying that he's doing a bad job at the striker role, but I think that he would be better off the left with someone else coming on up top. And that is what Spurs have actually managed to go and fix. So, I mean, if you haven't been able to figure it out by the title or seen it on the news anywhere, Spurs have signed Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth for about 60 to 65 million pound or euros. I didn't actually check. And I think that is an absolute bargain for what they're going to get out of him. And I do think Spurs is the right step for him. They were linked with a few other strikers. Obviously, Ivan Toney was rumoured a few times, Calvert-Lewin, them kind of profiles. But I do think out of them all, Dominic Solanke was the best one for them. And also he's Premier League proven. I mean, I think he's better than the likes of Gyökeres. Gyökeres would cost probably £20 million more and is not Premier League proven. I think Solanke is the solution to all of this. Is he the best finisher? No. Last season, he scored 19 goals from expected 19.5, which isn't that bad. It shows that he is reliable, but also he was 3rd in the league for non-penalty goals. Last season, he averaged 0.47 non-penalty expected goals per 90, alongside 2.9 shots a game. Incredible numbers that you really want to see from a striker, and with all due respect, he was doing it at Bournemouth. Iraola had them playing really well, but I mean, he was pretty much having to carry that team a little bit from the front line, and he did it really well. I think it proves as well that with them kind of numbers, he's not necessarily lucky. He does get a fair few chances, but he's not a lucky finisher. He's a reliable finisher. He's not the sort of person that's going to go and get you like 30 goals a season, but he is going to convert them chances, and that is what Spurs really need. Spurs also did rank top of the league last year for tackles in the attacking third per 90, which is a crucial stat, and I'm going to explain to you why. Meanwhile, Bournemouth sat 6th in this table, so still pretty good metrics. But what really stands out to me is in that Bournemouth team last season, out of every single player in the Premier League, Dominic Solanke ranked highest for the number of presses made, meaning he closed the opposition's defence down more times than anyone else. He also then had the most amount of presses that led to a shot on goal. Pretty funny that's how stats work, but it shows that he really is the kind of striker that will put the effort in. When you talk about the striker is the first defender, Dominic Solanke is literally epitomising this. Thank you, Opta, for them stats, by the way. But Dominic Solanke is epitomising this by showing how working hard does work. I mean, there was a goal last season, I can't remember who it was against, it might have been Newcastle or someone like that, where he got a free goal from pressing the goalkeeper. Now, that's not luck. That is smart. That is through constant trying and trying again, pressing down the goalkeeper. Eventually, you're going to get benefited for that. And he did prove that. What I really like is the fact that Big Ange and Iraola, I don't know why I keep calling him Big Ange, but apparently that's what he is now, so that's what he's going to stay. But Big Ange and Iraola have pretty similar styles of play in that they are both very high-pressing teams. They want their players to press high, aggressively, effectively, counter-press, win the ball back. So they are pretty transferable in the terms of what style they make their players play. And Dominic Solanke should be able to slot into this system pretty well. Now, let's go back to the lineup. Where's he going to fit in? I mean, this is pretty obvious. Spurs have signed Werner on loan again this season. For me, he comes out, Son goes to the left, Dominic Solanke comes up top. And I think that's pretty obvious, and I think that's the easy solution. They do line up in this 4-2-3-1, again, which is what Iraola lined up Bournemouth last year, so Solanke's used to this system. The rotations are a bit different in transitions. We do see some differences. Now, I'm going to call this a 3-2-5, but I mean, it's got multiple different names. I mean, you could call this a 2-1-2-4-1. I mean, that's not really a formation, but you can see what I mean. But if we go back to the 4-2-3-1 that we know they're going to line up in, they have a lot of wide options, but the striker position was an issue for them. But with such pace, power on either flank, I mean, Heung-Min Son, Kulusevski, Timo Werner, Brennan Johnson, they're all really good at hugging the touchline, cutting inside. They're quick, they're intricate, they have good dribbling power. And I think Solanke's going to enhance this even more. And I also think he could open up a lot of space for Maddison to make in-behind runs as well. What I really like about Solanke's game is he's not afraid to come a bit deeper to allow Son and Kulusevski to push forward. He is able to do something like this. So then when he gets the ball, he can play a brilliant pass out wide. Maddison can run to the box, and Dominic Solanke can also attack the box, where he will be on the end of crosses. When you look at his heat map for last season, he is so good at occupying the box and making his runs at the right time. But talking about his link-up play, I think it goes a little bit underrated. Last season, he attempted 5.45 medium-range passes per game, and he succeeded in 70% of them. By medium passes, I mean, for example, this would be a short pass, this would be a medium pass, this would be a long pass. So the medium passes are these kind of situations where he picks the ball up a little bit deeper, almost in a 10 position, can play it out wide. Son can carry the ball towards the touchline, and Solanke makes the run into the box, either drags defenders away from Maddison or gets on the end of it himself. Both are very good at creating opportunities and converting chances, and that is where Solanke excels, and I think it's what Spurs need as well. His composure in the box is something you rarely see in strikers. I mean, definitely didn't see it in his Chelsea days. Again, this is why this is hurting a little bit, not only because it's Spurs, but also because it's Solanke. Also at Liverpool, he did struggle a bit, and in his first couple seasons at Bournemouth, his composure in the box wasn't great. Last season, though, most of his goals came within the box. His composure is ridiculous, and I want to show you this goal against Luton. If you haven't seen it, this goal is ridiculous. I mean, the composure you have to take that kind of touch and then finish, I genuinely was mesmerised. And this is the kind of quality you're getting with Dominic Solanke. He's not a risk. He's not going to be like Erling Haaland. He's not going to go and get you 30, 35 goals a season. But he is just so good getting in the right place at the right time and finishing the chances that they need. I think him and Son will link up really well. Now, I know Son's 30, 31 now. Dominic Solanke, I think, is about 26 anyway, maybe 27. They're at a kind of time where they're not going to have a load of time together, but they are going to have probably a season or two where they are going to, I think, form a really good partnership, link up similar to what we saw Harry Kane and Heung-Min Son doing. So my final thoughts on Dominic Solanke to Spurs are pretty good ones, except it pains me. When you look at the other aspects of his game, his fitness record is really good. I mean, you rarely see him injured. Despite all the running that he does, the pressing that he's so good at doing, he rarely is actually misses a game through injury. And that is a massive plus for Spurs. They need someone that they can rely on. Richarlison's not got a good injury record, and that might have been a big downfall for them last season. And I don't think Werner's necessarily whilst he's good at running the channels and he's good at carrying the ball, he's not a finisher. and that is where they lacked. So Solanke will fix that problem, and he will be available. That's what they need. He's also cheaper than some alternatives. Obviously, we look at Ivan Toney. I think Ivan Toney would have cost about the same amount, but he is a bit older. They don't necessarily need a free kick or a penalty specialist because they have got Son and Maddison. He's also Premier League proven. So, I mean, Calvert-Lewin's not been on fine form. They're taking someone that is on a good run of form, and he could hopefully carry that form into this new side. And when you look at the alternatives like Gyökeres, I mean, I love Gyökeres. I do think he's one of the best strikers in the world at the moment. Personally, I just love watching him play. He's a bit raw, but I do like him. He's going to cost you about 80 to 85 million, and he's not played in the Premier League before, so you're going to have to give him a gelling period to get used to the league. Solanke's used to it already, so you're already getting that ready-made profile that I think Spurs really will benefit from to hit the ground running next season. He's also pretty good in the air. I mean, he's tall. He will win you headers. I'm not saying his headers are incredible, but what's also really crucial is he can win headers at the front and at the back. I mean, defensively, he does put in a good contribution. From set pieces and corners, he's tall enough to head the ball away and allow the likes of Son or Kulusevski to pick up that ball. You know, imagine that everyone's deep. I mean, I'm not going to set it up into a proper corner, but if everyone's deep and they leave maybe a couple players up top, if Solanke wins this header, he's got the passing range. He's got the passing range to get the ball and play it out wide for Kulusevski to counter-attack. Something like that is something really underrated. People don't recognise the effect something like that has. I mean, you look at Liverpool, they're so good at winning the ball with Darwin Núñez or Virgil van Dijk, with their tall players playing it forward quickly for the likes of Salah to get onto, and Mane was so good at it as well. That is an underrated part of football that people don't talk about enough, that I think Solanke also will benefit from. And I mean, he's just a menace in the box. Everything about him I do really like. There's not much that I think I can criticise Solanke for, and what's really annoying is I think Spurs had a massive issue up top, and I think there weren't that many players that could actually fill that issue, but I think Solanke is one. When you consider price, the style of striker that Solanke is versus the style of striker that Spurs needed, they've literally fit together perfectly. I cannot think of a better striker for Spurs. It's annoying because I was planning a video on one player every team needed to sign, and for me, I put Dominic Solanke forward for Spurs because I just love what he would offer to this team. It looks like the perfect match, and I could go as far as to say it could be the best signing of the summer. I do also think Solanke could find himself in the England team at the end of this season as well. I think if he does as well as I'm expecting him to, I think he will make it into the England team, maybe displace Ivan Toney. And I think he'll be deserving as well. However, I'm not going to lie, I do think Spurs do need a few more signings. I'm not going to start predicting them because I'm not very good at predicting transfers. I mean, my João Felix video and my Omarodian video didn't go to plan. Maybe I'm better at predicting leagues though. My Premier League predictions are coming soon, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you know when that comes live. But go and check out my Championship predictions in the meantime. See if I maybe did a bit better there. Let me know what I got right and wrong in that video. But until next time, I will see you very soon. Let me know what you think of this Solanke to Spurs signing.